All right, guys, welcome in. This is episode 2. Like I said, before every episode, I'm going to kind of give a Bible verse. And today, this is what God put on my heart to let you guys know. It's a Psalms 34:19 states, "The righteous person faces many troubles, but the Lord comes to the rescue each time." Psalms 34:19. So I got that today from the Bible app. I don't know if you guys have used the Bible app or know about it, but it gives you a verse each day to kind of start your day, and that was today's verse on the Bible app. So, I think it's a good one, right? Like it says,
Yeah.
the righteous person. We're gonna always face many troubles or trials, but it does say in the Word of God that the Lord comes to the rescue each time. So I guess that just kind of jumps into faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have faith and believe in the Lord, and so yeah, I'm excited to give you guys today's guest, and go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody, bro.
My name is Corporal Necochea. I'm the union president and for Fresno County Public Safety Association. I've been a correctional officer for approximately 10 years now. So,
Oh, you hit the double digits, huh?
double digits finally.
There you go. There you go. All right, dude. So yeah, no, today, kind of excited to have you. Friday morning. We're waiting on our coffee still. Our drinks.
Yeah,
Late,
no worries.
right?
That's fine. No worries.
So still trying to wake up, but I feel like I forget sometimes when I invite my law enforcement friends. I was telling you outside, like I'm used to be here at 9, and the profession I'm in now, they're there at 8:59.
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
You said be here at 9, bro.
I think that's probably one of the worst feelings, bro, is being late. So
yeah, and then you, bro, you're here at 8:20. I'm just like, hey, my boy, just woke up. Nah. But my day off is Friday, bro. So like I usually go from Monday through Thursday, kind of busting, and then so by Friday I'm just like But now I kind of got to get in the flow of it if I'm gonna do. I'd rather do my interviews on my day off.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Kind of comfortable, chill.
I get you.
But yeah, no. So why don't you tell a little bit of the people, like pretty much like your duties now that because pretty much you're off calendar, right?
Yeah, I'm off calendar. Pretty much I've been dealing a lot with the majority of the stuff is like grievances, dealing with management, or not. I'm not gonna say the word dealing, but like working with management a lot.
Yeah.
To resolve issues as much as I can. Working with members. If they have an issue, they email me. I'll help them out. Be like, hey, I got this issue, whether it's with management or if it's something.
When you say like an issue, can you give like the audience a more like vague understanding of what an issue can be? Like, can you name an example of an issue?
So like,
oh, good timing. We just asked a good question.
Long,
hey,
so.
Think of the answer before you get your drink. And
thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you want sweet cold foam or 33?
I take sweet cold foam one time.
It's a little sweet.
Then I'll give a little shout out to Coffee 33. They are a new coffee shop here in town in Faribault. So I'm gonna try it for the first time here on the episode, and then we'll kind of give it like a little review. It's one of my good buddies. He's starting a coffee shop, so he's got to show support to people around our local community, right? So I would hope that when people watch my podcast, at least locally, right, at least people that grew up with the town, like you would have one good support, right? I mean, because you're putting yourself out there to do something like you're not used to, right? This is something that I think everyone would tell you, like, hey, bro, you should have a camera. You should have talked about this, like even earlier. When I remember, I was like, hey, bro, save it for the podcast, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, so we'll try it out, and hey, thank you, Coffee 33.
Yeah, no, so like, an example, like a grievance, you know what I mean? Or like if an officer has an issue or whatever, it could be anywhere, something simple. See, because a lot of times is what I don't want officers to do, and of course you can't avoid it like 100%, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? If they have an issue, they'll just sit there and fester on it, and then, they'll start talking smack, or just talking stuff, and then spreading that negativity throughout the, wherever they're at, you know what I mean? And I'm like, see, you don't really, management's management, you know what I mean? But, we're a family.
Yeah,
We all work in the same place, you know what I mean? Some of us, you know what I mean? Some of them started together, other people promoted, other people stayed there, you know what I mean? And when you sit there and you sit on an issue and, you don't do nothing about it, and all you want to do is fester on it and then just create a hostile work environment, or something, just a negative work environment, it's not a healthy place to work. You know what I mean? We want people to stay here. We want people to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, well, let's talk about it. You know what I mean?
Come to an
We can sit down and
understanding.
talk about it. Call me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Email me. Let's try to figure this out together. You know what I mean? And I kind of try to be that middle person between management and, you know, the people I represent. And, you know, it just sometimes, you know what I mean? The outcome's good. Sometimes, you know what I mean? We just got to kind of settle what it is. But the main thing is just like, you know, to sit there and like be angry about something, you know what I mean? Because of, oh, this is what my supervisor did, or this is what my supervisor said.
Yeah.
Okay, and sometimes I'll talk to them, but like, okay, no, well, it's in their right, you know what I mean? You know, sometimes I'll get them to say, okay, yeah, you know what I mean? Hey, you know, you're bad, bro. Like, hey, you know, sometimes you just gotta like, hey, you know, you made a mistake. Just own up to it, and you know, keep going. There's no reason to be negative. But there is sometimes that you know, that management is wrong. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, then that's where I'll help you out. You know, whether they. You know, it could be anything, whether they, you know, denied you sick leave or, you know, anything simple like that. And
Yeah.
then, you know, that's when I'll step in, you know, I'll shoot an email or I'll talk to whoever I have to in management, like, hey, let's get this settled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, just make it right.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of the like sick leave. I mean, you just helped me with an issue at my job recently, so it's kind of funny how when I hit you up, man, I was like, hey, life comes back full circle, because when we started together, I was initially in a little bit of trouble at my old career, and then you helped me out, you know. And I think it was new to me and new to you, right? And we were going through something that now I kind of trip out because when I hit you up, bro, you're like on it, just, you know. I was like, man,
Yeah.
it
It took me a few years. You know, I've been doing union stuff now for about 5 years now. So,
okay.
you know what I mean? And it just.
So you've been off roster for 5 years?
No. I've been off roster maybe 6 months.
Oh, this is recent then.
Yeah, this is recent.
Oh, shoot,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So Calvert, as you know, he retired.
Oh,
He was the president,
yeah.
and he did a damn good job. Damn good job. You know, I love Josh to death, man. He
Shout out
me
Calvert.
and him. Yeah, shout out to Calvert, man. Me and him, we probably took on one of the biggest battles as soon as we stepped in, and you know what I mean. He was the president, and I wish he would have stayed here another 15, 20 years, man. And you know, I love the dude. Me and him worked very well together, and you know, and he, you know, he still helps out. He still helps out, but you know what I mean. Once you know his condition and everything like that, you know, he had to retire. But you know, I got nothing but love for that guy, man.
Yeah, no, cool.
Me and him took on probably one of the biggest fights of our whole career, and you know, so.
And then when I was thinking too, when you're kind of introducing yourself and just kind of explaining what you do, can you explain to us, like, when you say you represent not only the jail, right? You represent more than.
Yeah, there's other departments, you know, than there's jail. We know we got juvenile hall, child support, program techs, security. You know, it's not just the jail, but the majority and mass part of our membership is it's the jail.
Oh, okay.
It is the jail, and then second to that would be juvenile hall.
So would you say when you get the most complaints, what department is like obviously the jail being the biggest, I would assume it's the jail, but I mean, is the jail the number one place where you get complaints, or is there an area where like, hey man, they're getting a lot of complaints over here?
You know what? It's probably pretty much even, but I want to say where we use probably the most of our resources, you know what I mean, would be juvenile hall.
Oh, okay.
It's probably juvenile hall.
Over the jail?
Over the jail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to the jail.
Yeah.
They're doing good. Hey,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of people
They're
in there.
actually, you know, it's not too bad. You know what I mean? And a lot of that is just it's management.
Yeah.
It's management, man. Captain Esme out there, man. He's so, you know, we got Duran, Esme,
Yeah.
E-Ball. I mean, some of those people, they're really very easy to work with.
Yeah,
You know,
no, for sure.
You got some really good people there that are
I have dealt with all three of them. Very good people.
very
four
good.
of them.
Oh man,
Yeah, I have nothing
Like,
bad to say.
Dude, I'll
about
die
them.
on the hill with them. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll go all the way to the end with them, man. And we got some very, very good management there. So, and you know, a lot of that, it just, you know, I could just sit there and talk.
Yeah.
You know, talk. Sometimes I'm not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not always right. I don't always make, the right decision, but
For sure.
you know what I mean? I think, we've reached that level with them though, where it's just kind of like, hey, you can communicate with
I'm gonna touch off something too. We talked in episode 1 with Bonilla, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about between inmate officer, right, where you have to have common ground.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, I mean, obviously, it being different with you in management, but you got to have common ground with them, right?
You got to.
Yeah.
You got to have common
And
ground.
I kind of tied that in, episode 1, episode 2.
Yeah,
Right? Common,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
common ground.
You
yeah.
got to have common ground, man.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? A lot of people think that like, this is, no, you were gonna hear, fight management, this and that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
pick every little battle, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There is some people in management where it's just kind of like, hey, well,
To make it difficult.
it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's just anywhere.
Yeah.
It's anywhere you go.
It comes with the
like,
job.
But like the leadership we have right now, man, they really care about their people, despite what anybody thinks. Or
Yeah.
whatever. Like you got people like bro Duran, you know what I mean? You got Esme, bro. They really care about their people.
Yeah, no, for
You know
sure.
what I mean?
Evil.
And Ebal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. They really care about their people. I mean, of course, you know what I mean, if they gotta like do the job, they're gonna do their job.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? But they can at least, communicate. I mean, because I'm not gonna say no names, but you know how it was prior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And prior, this and that, like what would happen? Oh, like, you had an issue with the chair. What'd they do? They took away all the chairs.
Took them. Yeah, took them.
So now everybody's got to stand.
Stand 16 hours.
16 hours, whatever. You know what I mean?
Stressed out.
Okay, stressed out. It made people not want to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not the way to be. So, but I can honestly say the culture.
You already got
the culture has
OGs in
changed.
there. You already got OGs in there tripping on, checks. So
Yeah.
now you got them checks plus,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you're short staff, and then you got to go North Joe, so you got to
Yeah.
split AOG. It's just me and you today, homie. So ABC, I'll do DEF. He looks at me like, no, homie, you do ABCDE, and I'm gonna do F. If I think I might help you with E,
Mm-hmm.
But and remember, I'm a corporal.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's how the old school used to be there. People would come at you kind of like you had to really earn someone's like. Just sometimes they would just be, hey, just help me out, and they would do ABC without having to ask. But if you try to assign it, is what I'm trying to say is something like, nah, man, and then tying back to episode 1, it's about your approach, right? So I would say once again, from inmate to officer, you to management, it's your approach, right? If they can come at you like, hey, I want this officer, blah, 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 or they can maybe come at you like, hey, Necochea, this officer has, shown signs and, this is why we want to do this because of, X, Y, and Z, right? So it's like, right, their approach to you is 100% different. So, I mean, does that like change the way you represent someone, or you just kind of get to know them and then you're like, see how it plays out? Like, kind of say like you have the frequent flyer, like they're there for the same thing. Let's just, for example, I'll speak of like them always being late, but maybe this time around they have an excuse why they're late. Like, I don't know, maybe they've been having car issues, right? Let's say.
Yeah.
But usually they're late because they're late.
Yeah.
But this time is a legit reason. But for some reason, this month, this type of, or management's on tardiness. Maybe it just, there's multiple tardies, so they got to make an example.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So maybe they have an excuse,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they got an issue, you know what I mean? Of course, you know what I mean? Touching on the late issue. I mean, if you're late, you're late. You know what I mean? It's just, they're not gonna like really push an issue, you know what I mean? But if they start saying, as management, they're gonna have to do what they gotta do. If they start
Patterns.
saying, like, dude, patterns. Like, okay, now you got officers, they don't even, you know what I mean? They're not even showing up to brief, whatever.
Yeah. No briefing showers. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, now they have an issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes I could, like I said, I could work with management, and be like, hey, like, okay, cool. And I'll talk to my people. In other words, it's like, another times it's like, okay, well.
So, I mean, you're off calendar now, right?
Yeah.
So would you say, how often do you say you spend time in the jail now? Do you go in
I do
weekly?
I
check
do.
in?
I try to go in
daily,
weekly. They show up
monthly?
to briefing, show up to the floors. Talk to management. But like I'm everywhere now.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere, and it's nonstop. It's nonstop. You know what I mean?
I can only imagine.
The issues, just not just the jail, but just the grievances throughout the whole.
Yeah, because you got to deal with multiple.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're already telling the guests like your biggest is JJC, so that's not even the jail.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you say how many employees now in the jail? You think like what 700?
Probably. Yeah.
6?
Probably close to that. I don't. I couldn't even tell
Yeah,
you.
just give or take.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a lot of people. I'm just saying that's.
It-
I'm
it
trying
is
to
a
give
lot of
people
people.
a general. It's a lot of people that
It's a lot of people, man.
So I can imagine your phone going off.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it's nonstop. And I think that's probably one of the biggest, I want to call it like, oh shit moments for me.
Yeah.
Is it's nonstop, man.
Yeah.
It's nonstop. I wish I could tell you that I had an 8 to 5 or I just worked 12 and my days off were Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and every other Monday. I honestly missed that. I was actually telling our VP, Canal, that like, dude, it just, I miss that feeling of like, oh, it's Friday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm off. Heck yeah, I could relax. I don't have to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what this. It could be any time of the day, any night, day, night. I'm taking phone calls at 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't matter. I could be on vacation with my family. You're constantly working. You never get that feeling of like, all right, cool, I'm off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or just right now, even when we were just waiting in the garage. You know what I mean? I got 2 phone calls. My phone, I had like 20-something messages.
I know. Hey, dude, when I was hitting you up, I was kind of getting a little without. Because you got to take your thing off of red, my boy.
Yeah.
Because I see red, and I'm just like, oh, that's crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
that's telling me how Tommy's going to get at me.
Yeah, it's busy, man. It's a lot of work. It's different, of course, from the jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like with the jail, you got your routine. You show up, count them, check them, feed them, break up a fight. Once your time's over, boom, you're done, right?
Yeah.
It's a little different. Yeah, you're not dealing with all that stuff, but you're constantly, and then somebody's always unhappy.
Yeah.
They don't like the decision you make, or hey, you didn't get back to me in enough time, or whatever. And it's just kind of like it's not personal. It's just constantly trying to answer an email, setting up a meeting.
You generally like kind of almost forget if they don't remind you because like you got so much going on.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So if they're not,
so people out there that have hit you up, you're just trying to say don't take it offensive. It's just
it's
much.
not. It's not personal, and it's not like I'm like avoiding, para nada, man. It's definitely not like that. It's
so everyone out there, we now know on air, it's not personal. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not personal, man. It just
shout them out again. Little reminder out there.
Yeah.
And Nico texts you every day for the last 2 weeks. I'm still waiting on a response.
Mm-hmm. So it's just it's just constantly something's always going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then
but you did touch on what I want to bring in. You touched on Canal, right? So when you say Canal, that was my partner the last year when I left, in 22.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys have like a board, right?
Yes.
Can you break down the structure of the board or who's in the positions?
So currently right now, obviously me, the president, vice president 1 is Canal. Vice President 2 is Romero.
Got it.
Our treasurer is Officer Prieto.
Mm-hmm. Oh, K9. Nice.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
Shout out to K9 Prieto.
Our secretary,
respect.
She's an officer at JJC, Officer Sanchez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
that's our board.
Oh, it's a board. Okay. So when you guys have a board, for example, do you guys do you vote on stuff? Like if something comes up, and then is it like a majority rules or?
Yeah, especially like it's just depending on what it is. You know what I mean? Like so if there's gonna be like a big policy change.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I don't want it to be just fall on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of course, obviously, you always want to get the members' input.
For sure.
You know what I mean? You got to say like, hey, this is what it is. I feel like change needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because we're running on an old system or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And of course, you always want to get the members' opinion.
For sure.
I mean? Of course, because that's who we represent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's who we work for.
Yeah.
Are the members.
Ultimately.
And, sometimes, you got to make decisions that not every member is going to agree with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the
thing is, what's good about the board is just like, hey, we could sit down and talk about it. Hey, this is what we're thinking of doing. What do you guys think about it? You know what I mean? And first, like, we'll agree with it. You know what I mean? And then everybody will put their input. Like, oh, we talked to some OGs. We talked to some new people. And if the majority of people are like, nah, they don't agree with that, then, then we'll make a decision on our own. And then you're like, okay, should we go through with this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just leave that on me. You know what I mean? Because if it's just me that made the decision, Okay, not only that we're gonna have pissed off members, now the board's gonna be like, hey, how come this wasn't communicated?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I never want to be that person that just makes, nope, this is what it is. It's final. You know what I mean? No, we're gonna make a decision as a team.
For sure.
And of course, member input is always gonna be key. You know what I mean?
So it's a democracy.
Yeah, it's like
It's not a dictatorship.
exactly, bro. No, I don't like that.
I like it.
I don't like that. Like, hey, this is what it is, and these are my decisions, and it's gonna be. If you don't like it, ni modo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm
My way or the highway.
saying? Exactly. Nah, I don't. I never want to get to a position, and if I do, shit, I'd rather-
But and then I
Let
think
me
I could say
resign.
I kind of speak on it then too as a member prior working there, right? And then when they have a concern or an issue, when you guys call a meeting, for example, do you get a lot of attendance from your members? Or like what I'm trying to say, they'll complain about something, but then you won't get no.
When we're gonna get,
participation.
I would always love for every meeting. I
Mm-hmm.
would love to have a pack house. I would love every member to attend
Yeah,
because that's how the communication gets. Because what's the number one thing that they say? There's no communication.
exactly,
There's no communication. Okay, so we hold meetings.
for sure.
Okay, but,
How often do you hold meetings?
I think we're only supposed to do like one a year.
One a year, okay.
One a year. I'm trying to make them quarterly though.
I was like, yeah. Do you think one a year is sufficient though? Maybe
I don't think
at least
so.
two, maybe.
Yeah,
right?
our requirements are just one a year for general.
Quarterly is like really good though, because then you're informing them every 3 months, pretty much.
Yeah, but sometimes you know what I mean. When they're that so close together, it's just kind of like we have no new updates.
Yeah, so like twice a year, every 6 months.
I
maybe.
think twice a year would be good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. I think at least twice a year would be good.
Like kind of like a summer, winter.
Yeah,
You know?
but what kind of gets disheartening about it is, you got those like, hey, there's no communication, there's no meetings, we don't do this, and that. Okay, cool. So we hold the meetings.
No one shows.
Nobody shows. I had one. I'm not gonna say his name. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
You need to hold a meeting. This and that. So I remember I personally put together a meeting for that person.
And then
We told everybody in the jail, all right, cool, we got this meeting, right?
yeah,
We held the meeting.
no show.
3 people showed up. He wasn't even one of them.
Dang. And I bet you he was the one that complained the most.
Exactly.
After that,
So
again.
I'm like, no, bro. Like, I'm here to communicate.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I mean? Or if you guys think I'm doing something wrong, let me know.
Yeah. Tell me.
Let me know, man. Like, I don't want to be, like I said, I don't want to be this dictator. Like, dude, if I need to correct something on myself, I'll do it. You know what I mean? If I'm not doing right, if you guys are saying no communication, cool. Well, how do you improve that? With meetings. You know what I mean? You try to talk to people, and, I think that's probably like the most disheartening thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to tell you the truth, when you're going to get the most attendance is contract negotiations.
Money. Money time, baby.
Yeah.
Man, I
First
wish I
meeting-
had a little thing to think beep and then like money.
Exactly.
Yeah, and now I get
Yeah, no, it's gonna be contract negotiations, man. Like, is me and Cal were like, we're shocked. We held that thing, dude. We had so many people on that Zoom app.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We had to pay just to let extra members go in because that's how many people were logged in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, dude, why can't all the meetings be like this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, just
Well, I mean,
contract.
you do have so from my understanding, the jail has gone younger, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of newer officers.
Oh, new officer.
So would you say like, I guess me and your version as a different OG compared to, I guess, would be now there? How many OGs from our era are still at the jail right now? Like, what would you say the percentages from OGs to new people right now in the jail?
There's a handful, man.
A handful. So like in the 10%, maybe?
Maybe less. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe less, man.
That's a
We're
young
yeah.
department. Yeah.
I mean, you got to think, you got people that have been there 2 years already getting prime shift. You know what I mean? Or 3 years already getting B1s, A1s.
Oh, yeah. Steak and eggs. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's easy.
So, I mean, like when we got hired, what was it? People were waiting 6-10 years.
Yeah.
Just to even
Hey,
say
you're
we
going to
can-
get a parking lot pass.
Yeah, yeah.
You're too young, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, homie, I just trying to not walk 6 blocks, my boy. You have to hate.
Exactly, man.
What year were you hired? Oh, bro, we're barely in 2006.
Yeah,
You're a senior in high school.
We're a
You
young
know?
place. We're a young place and
Yeah.
working in a prison because that's what it is now. And it's going to take a few years for people to.
So it's a prison, right?
It's a prison.
So then,
It's a prison. It's not what it used to be. You're in a prison.
okay, so I'm gonna play. I don't want to even say the name, but I'm just gonna play like I'm the side of a CO right now, right? I'm thinking like a CO right now.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a prison, then why don't we have prison wages?
Exactly.
But we're trying to get there, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, it's just
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, my friend. I'm just like, it's
it's
like,
cool. No, you're right though, but you're right.
because I want it to be real, right?
the
I want it to be real and people to understand. Like, that's a question that someone would ask.
The biggest challenge.
I'm that guy in the room right there, like, hey, not really telling him, hey, tell him this.
Yeah.
That's a question they're gonna throw out there.
Yeah. I mean, I
We're
guess
in prison, bro. Pay us like prison, like SEALs.
your biggest challenge is you have to convince the county of that.
Yeah.
Convince the state. Is the state the one that did this?
Yeah. No, I'm just
Well, they want to throw it off on us. All right, cool. You want us to run it like a prison? You're right. We're not getting paid prison wages, or like what a prison guard gets. You know what I mean, and
the medical and everything should change.
Exactly. I mean,
everything.
I'm not saying like, okay, cool.
I know, once again, I'm not trying to throw you out there like that. I'm just trying to talk like a CEO.
You're right. You're right.
And
this is something that me and Calvin we've talked about, and in the past, and that is what it should be, or at least close.
Yeah.
At least real damn close to what it is. You know what I mean? We're not.
It's almost like big brother, little brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're little brother.
But
we get we get paid.
Yep.
And only a real CEO is gonna know what that means. Obviously, right? Mm-hmm. It's like I remember people would ask me like, "Hey, how's working it in there?" I'm just like, "Hey, it's active." That's the best way you can explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember we go and in the unit, order, right? Sunday night games on. Mm-hmm. That's the only cool thing I guess you could say about working a Sunday night. You got a little glimpse of the Sunday night football game. Maybe you ordered a pizza, right?
Yeah.
Hoping it's gonna have a good day, but then hey, what do you hear? Oh, damn! It's me, you, and the homie in there. I'm just like, hey, who's on the desk? All right, hey, let's go then.
Uh-huh.
And then now, hey, we get back, pizza's cold, homie.
Uh-huh.
Or whatever we had.
Yeah.
And that's how it can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, yeah. So you would say back to the like less than 10% of the people then. So then.
Oh geez, man. We can't. There's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot left, man. Yeah, we're a young jail, and the culture has changed so much, man. Within the last 10 years, we've lost a lot of good COs. I mean, not only to retirement, but may they rest in peace. But we've had people pass away. We had a year where we had I think it was 9+ officers pass away.
Really?
There was I think during the COVID pandemic, and for different reasons or whatever. That was probably one of the hardest things. That was probably one of the hardest things that Calvin and myself had to deal with too, as a union, and retirement. It is. It's hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get too many of those people. They're there. They're still there. It's just the culture change, man.
Yeah.
The culture change. I mean, and then trying to get management to understand, or your sergeant or whatever, it's a big difference. You know what I mean? It's a big difference, man. And it's just,
when you say culture change, you're just saying these new officers are just not.
Well, it has to do a lot with you know what I mean? It's just of course we're, it's like run like a prison now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got the, how can I say it? The way things were done before and what we were used to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how to get something under control. Everything now is just kind of scrutinized. You know what I mean? And, you're kind of being scrutinized. You know what I mean? Not only by management, but the public.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna say it's like you're walking on eggshells, but it's just different, man. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? It's just.
Yeah, because I haven't been in it in 2.5 years, so I can kind of go off of when I was there. It's different.
It's different.
I feel like
it's just different. You know what I mean?
You have to
the
be
way
very
the way like my corporal when I got hired, Redondo. You know what I mean? And everybody, I'm gonna say that name. Everybody's gonna know exactly what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, R.I.P.
And how may he rest in peace, man. I got nothing but love for that guy.
Yeah, me as well.
Planet X. He used to always call me Planet X because our families have a connection to Planada, California.
Oh, okay.
So, but he the way he did things, you know what I mean, the way he controlled the pod, you know what I mean, the way he interacted with these prisoners, the respect that he got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna.
I can tell you this, dude. This is how much respect he had, how much juice he had. I always felt like you know, I had not all kinds of juice, but I had a little bit of juice, you know, especially when you came to like my ranking. And then like when I was on watch 3, I pretty much was the number 1 ranked corporal on that shift. Right. So I thought I have juice. Right. So when I worked a certain floor, I requested to stay on that floor. Like, hey, just keep me here 8 hours. Right. Usually that's, hey, no problem. Right. The sergeant wants you to stay. And it was pretty much the floor that we housed the freaking 17 of the worst. Right. Mm-hmm. So you can always pop off, dude. And my thing was, I didn't want to work 4 hours there and then go on the floor another 4 hours because like now I have to do 2 different programs. And it's like, for me, that can be, you know, unsettling because if the first shift, meaning the 2 to 6 shift, doesn't care, bro, and I had to come on and my first hour and a half or 2 hours is just readjusting. So guess what? Readjusting means I'm working, you know? Mm-hmm. So like that shift, you know, you on that floor, on the floor I'm talking about, with the 17 of the worst, you're working. Like, if you're having a bad, like one of those 17, bro, you got to pick your poison. You can have a good day with this one today, but the next day it's this one. So, you know, he can make you that, you know, when I say a problem, that's working, you know, as the corporal, you're working because if your training's writing the report, you're still right there every 5 minutes, right? Hey, what do I say? Because it's a force or it's this or it's that. It's like, so I don't think sometimes they understand. Like they think, oh, well, you're over there. It's calm. Bro, I have 2 psych housing pods that the other one over there thinks his brother is laying down right there. You know, it's like I'm any moment to just pop off. My boy,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. You know what I mean? And you know, all that has to do with how you carry yourself. But you know, a lot of that's gone. You know, like I said, Mitch, dude, like how did his force were?
But back to that, Mitch, he didn't allow me, bro. He rolled me out. So when he came on at 1800. He didn't want to be on a floor, so he rolled me out, and he made the call, and the sergeant was like, "Bro, it's Redondo." Yeah. Like,
yeah.
And I had a respect to him. No. I would even tell him, I go, anybody else, my boy, I'd have pushed the issue. Yeah. So that's right. That's right. You know, I was like, all right, yeah. You know, he was just cool like that.
Dude, no, he had a lot of respect with management, with his peers, with, you know, inmates respected him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, and it's just different, dude. And, you know, just, you know, what we learned, you know what I mean? Like through him, another good example, Iqbal. Okay. I mean, so
yeah,
I'll never forget being a trainee. You know what I mean? You know, I'm learning from Redondo. You know, and I see how Iqbal does things. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
This guy, you know, he. I'll never forget, man. Like the amount of intel that he had. You know what I mean? Or the way he carried himself with the inmates. You know what I mean? And it just kind of like.
Yeah,
you know, something could be so tense in a pod. Same thing with Mitch. You know, something could be so tense in a pod, and the type, you know, they want to talk about de-escalation. Well, how do you think they got that de-escalation? You know what I mean? Well, through years of experience and whatever tactics they learned. You know what I mean? All they had to do is like show up, cool, tension solved.
Yeah.
Just by the little techniques that they would use, or you know, the rapport that they had with these guys. You know what I mean? Like. You know, they're sitting there, okay, I'll rack up. So I got you, Redondo. You know what I mean? Oh, I got you, man. We'll rack up.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you need us to do? All right, cool. We'll clean up. You know, this and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, hey, you know, go tell that guy. You know, or whatever. You know, hey, boom, step forward, put your hands on the wall, whatever. This is that. No issues. You know what I mean? Of course, you're always gonna have some issues, but you know the way they carried themselves. And I remember when I was first getting there. You know what I mean? I would take little things. You know what I mean? Like, God, I want to be like this guy. I want to be like Mitch. I want to be a little bit like Iqbal. I want to be a little bit like this person. You always try to pick the good things and then be your own officer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Reflect on yourself. You know, and it's just hard with such a culture change. You know what I mean? There's things that you can't do no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, like Iqbal would sit there. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool, play cards with the guys.
Yeah, I would.
You know what I mean? Oh, what is that now? Oh, fraternizing. You can't do that. This and that, dude. But he would make these guys feel human. You know what I mean? Feel like, okay, cool. He's not just some, you know what I mean? This and that.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You know what I mean? If we were planning on throwing a riot or attacking this officer or whatever it is, squashed. Just because that one person's there. And I wanted to get to that level. It took me a few years to get to that level. And then that's the other thing, too. You got to have that floor experience.
Yeah.
You got to be in the shit.
Yeah.
You got to, in my opinion, you got to have at least 2+ years main jail floor experience.
in order for what you're paying for what?
For you to get to that next level in your career.
Okay.
Because if you're just one of those people that like, all right, cool, boom, boom, and avoided the floors the whole time or whatever,
Yeah,
and you go
especially
straight to management, or this is not, you're never gonna understand. Never. I don't care what you say. I don't know how many times you review footage, you talk to people. You're never gonna fully understand what it's like to be in that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's a use of force or whatever it is, you never are. It's not gonna happen. I mean, and that's my opinion. I'm probably gonna get a lot of criticism for that, but you never are. And I think what happens is that when those people get to that level, you know, it's hard for them to understand why you did what you did, and you're never gonna understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what do they say? Like, oh, we can't play cards with inmates no more.
Yeah.
What is it? Fraternization. I could tell you one thing. When this officer, you know, when we got hired, you know, you saw more of it. You know what I mean? Well, how would happen? All right, cool. Squash, whatever issues you had.
Mm-hmm.
If they were going to roast somebody out on your shift, or like I said, if there was a riot going to pop off, if they were going to attack this, you know what I mean? Squashed, whatever it was. And, you know, a lot of those tactics are gone, and we lost a lot of that with these OGs. You're losing a lot of them,
Yeah.
you know, and then with the culture change, it's just kind of like you want to try to use those tactics that you've learned, you know what I mean? Because you know they work, they're effective.
Yeah.
But what do they say? No, you can't do that. Or no, that's not the way to do things. Or this is not the way. You know what I mean? This ain't right. Or I don't like how you did. You know what I mean? And then it's coming from somebody who's never been in that position.
Yeah. Like,
Never been.
Yeah, you don't know what it's like to cause, you know, like for me, okay, I'll give an example, like, right, of stuff that's, I guess, bending the rules, not breaking. Like for me, when I worked B1s, right? So what I started doing one night was, you know, you have to cut the TVs at 10 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
B1s.
Mm-hmm.
An inmate grieved, right? I think, right? And won because he lost his case because the TV was on all night. So we implemented in policy, right? Or we put it in the handbook, and, you know, it has to be off by a certain time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, bro, you know, I started getting to know all the channels that are on cable, right? So 26 at 10 is the news, 11 is Friends, 12 is Cops, 1 is Investigations, you know, 2 is, you know, I don't know, the
Cheaters.
death,
I think
know.
Cheaters comes on.
No, they have like it's all criminal stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So these dudes are like, hey, one night, one guy comes, he's like, hey, Gonzalez, what's up, bro? I know you're gonna say no, bro, but, you know, shooters gotta shoot, my boy, you know? And I was like, what happened? He's all like, is it cool if we get the TV till 3? No. You know, he's like, well, no. He's like, wow, we have a proposal for you. I have a proposal for me. What? You always come in every night tripping about count. You know, people being out of their bunks and people doing kind of their program. He goes, I could promise you, if you give us till 3, tonight, you'll come on. Everyone's gonna be programmed in their bunks with their wristbands on, Gonzalez. I promise you. He goes, if you give us a TV till, if we can get it till, like, at the time it wasn't even 3 yet. That one was just like, I think they wanted to go till 1. But, you know, they're always gonna keep going and going, right? So it got all the way till 3 one time. But anyways, it started like, you know, can we watch extra channels, right? Yeah, let me see. I'll see what's up. So I go, hey, I told the guys, I'm gonna do, you know, this part and this part today. So when I go in, bro, hey, Nico, like fucking military style, homie.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy.
Yeah, you know, and a little bit like that, man, goes a long way with those guys.
A long way, you know?
You know what I mean? And
I would try to explain is, what are we doing that's wrong? We're giving them TV. As long as it's not louder. And I would tell them, though, if anyone complains and it comes back to me where my sergeant's on me, never going to happen again, right? No one complained in my time that I did it. But it's effective because back to, you know, being old school, I'm going to be a little, because I learned through old school cats, you know? We named a couple outside, and I'll name one because we named him yesterday, like Shoemate. I got to see the way Shoemate talked to people, how he handled himself, right? And
Shoemate's another one, man.
Yeah.
I learned so much from that guy.
man, bro. Well, we were in class with them.
Dude, I learned so much. I wish I would have worked more with that guy.
Yeah. Same.
Just the same way. He's another one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Bend the rules a little bit. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
that. But what happened when he would walk in?
You know, like their dad just showed
That
up.
was a good sergeant.
Like, hey, like dad's in town.
That's a good sergeant right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of this, bro, like there's a memory that just popped up. So I remember I was on, I did most of my time in the main jail, most of it on 5. We all know 5 is probably the most difficult floor to work.
Yeah, we used to call it the jungle.
But yeah, the jungle.
Yeah, you're gonna go to the jungle, man.
So I remember
Good luck.
it was me and Thao. You know what I mean? And they had these, and you got in the back over there, you got these FF inmates.
Yeah.
And they're psych. Some of them are psych.
Some of them can be extremely psych.
I'm not going to name the inmate's name.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We had this guy, years, psych issues, combative. You know what I mean? I'll never forget this. You know what I mean? And it didn't matter who opened that door. It was either going to be a fight or cell extraction, this and that. But the poor guy had serious psych issues.
Yeah.
And you're human. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
You kind of feel like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, this dude's living in his own shit. He doesn't shower. He doesn't clean his cell. You know what I mean? He doesn't, like, it's just not there. You know what I mean? Okay, they got him medication. They have him do therapy, whatever, like, or whatever. He complies or he doesn't. So I remember when I had Thao on there, man. Solid guy, Thao. And we were talking. We're like, hey, man. I told him, I go, let's try to get this guy, like, to come out and shower. You know what I mean? And I know it's like, fuck, you know what I mean? Or like clean the cell or, do something. It took us almost 6 months. But the little things that we would do for that guy, you know what I mean? First, let's get this guy to handcuff and come out. Whatever. If you had to give him an extra sack lunch or candy bar from commissary, whatever, you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
He called services, hey, we need some extra commissary. I used to do it all the time. Corporal Davis is super good with working with you on that,
Yeah.
And, okay, you know what I mean? Are we supposed to give them a little extra here and there? Technically, no. You know what I mean? It's not. But, we bend the rules a little bit. Cool. Get him out with the candy bar. Cool. He'd come up. Because he was always hungry.
Yeah, food goes a long way in there.
Food goes a long way. And we'd give him a little extra food just to come out. But like, hey, man, we got to do something with this guy. He's living in filth, dude. Like, he tearing up his mattress every night, his clothes. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, so we started off with like that. Let's get this guy out with the soup, whatever it is. We'd give him something. Boom. Bar soap. Like, hey, do us a favor, shower. And he wouldn't do it. All right, but what? Fuck it. We started off slow. We got him out of his cell.
Yeah.
All right. And then me and Tal would go in there. Boom. Clean his cell. Boom, boom, boom. Scrub it real good. We'd get him new bedding, new clothes, everything, right?
Yeah.
It went to the point where I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. We would make his bed, bro. We'd make his bed. We have a little pillow for him. You know what I mean? Just something that he, when he would come back, it was just kind of like, well, it wasn't all in disarray. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, of course, he would right away tear it up and, this and that, you know what I mean? A few days.
Like, he would tear it up, and get rid of it.
Rip it, and brand new mattress, he would rip it.
So, I mean, okay, so now I'm just going to piggyback, right? So, how often would he do this? Like, once a week, twice a week?
At least once a week, man.
And then
we'd come back the next week. It's the same thing. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
We ended up getting it for him is, I'll never forget, man. We got him to come out one time. You know what I mean? All of a sudden he started showering.
Mm-hmm.
We'd clean his cell. He'd go back to a clean cell. And then a few months later, he wouldn't even tear up his cell.
No?
Nope. He wouldn't tear it up. Like, almost like he was appreciative. Like, he felt human. You know what I mean? I guess you could see the change in him a little bit. You know what I mean? And then,
so you think just through time, through like just showing him love,
just pretty much like showing him love. I mean, we're not supposed to show him love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what it is. You know what I mean? He'd come back all of a sudden, and then I'll never forget. He handcuffed up one time. You know what I mean? He slipped out of his handcuff. Slipped into the front, and then he wasn't feeling good. We were getting him back out of the shower. He came back to a clean room, and then I was like, I'm gonna go a little extra mile. I get him some hot water. I made him a soup, bro.
You made him a soup?
I made him a soup right there. Boom. I put the bowl right there on this thing. And this is now we're bringing him back to us. He looks. And at first I was like, hey, come on, man. Put your handcuffs behind. Because, you're just when you're handcuffing them, moving them from here to the shower, just be behind their back.
Yeah.
With the shackles and everything. We had all that. But he had it in the front. I was like.
Your trainee?
No. He slipped. He slipped.
Oh, he slipped
He slipped them. So he had his hands in the front. And I was like, fuck.
Oh, shit.
Like, this dude better not attack us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just risked it. Took him back to his cell. It's like, thank God he didn't do nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
As soon as we put him in there and he saw that the soup, he was like, what? Like, he was so surprised. He stepped back over, put his hands behind his back, and then stuck it through the thing. But, and then like 6 months later, you know what I mean? Because they went through the step down program. He was doing better. I had him in the pod, made him my worker. He would clean the pod for me in a pod.
For real? Yellow suitor.
Yellow suitor.
Yeah,
Yellow
it's a good
suitor
story.
went down to red, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Did we bend the rules a little bit? Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm.
We did bend the rules a little bit to make him feel human, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I think just the little things like that, man, it goes a long way with these people. And, and it's hard to do something like that and, try to, what I mean, to get away from something like that. The stuff that we learned from Redondo, the stuff that we learned from, Shoemates and all
these
that
are the
stuff.
big names. I only say Shoemaker because we named him yesterday, and then you said Redondo. So
yeah, you know what I mean. That's to get away from stuff like that, and then if you're just trying to run it like, hey, this is the prison, this is blah, these are the rules, and you got to follow them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're trying to tell.
Guess what you're gonna get? You're gonna get more staff assaults. You're gonna get more riots. You're gonna get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it takes years to develop officers like that. It takes years to develop.
Either you're gonna have it or you don't. Like 'cause you could learn the job. So like I always think what always gave me an advantage over every officer is I always believed that I could just talk better than you. And I felt like I never really had a use of force in my career where I always was able to de-escalate mostly everything. But like you said, it's the 5 to 10% where, they just don't care, bro. They don't care. Like you're not gonna. Mm-hmm. But I was lucky enough to never have to be involved in anything really, drastic. Like I never got any of my trainees ever got assaulted, right? Mm-hmm. I never got physically assaulted. I've been involved in incidents, I've had other officers, quote unquote, would have a use of force, right? And I feel like that kind of changed, the way I would approach, how I would talk, right? Because I would say, like I was explaining to Bonilla, is that you would see a pattern, an inmate would, if he's going to kind of assault you, most times, right, he's going to advance towards you with an aggression. Either he's talking to you verbally or he's showing you, right? His stance is going to be bladed. He's going to look like he's going to come and assault you. At that point, either you make the first move or you allow yourself to get hit. And that's what I learned. Like, hey, I'm making the first move. And then how you write your use of force is the fact that, hey, I perceived this man as a threat. I feared for my life.
Yep.
I did a move to, protect myself. Now, like last night, we talked about he's already gone cuffed, and then I fucking want to I fucking dare you, it's a little use of force, extra, excessive force. Like, more than likely, how do you think a certain lieutenant or sergeant's gonna respond to that? Like,
yeah, of course.
I mean, homies or not, right or wrong, like like you said, I'm not gonna turn the other cheek if you're doing that. Like, that's crazy, bro. Like, I have a family to think about.
Yeah.
I don't think I was a snitch. Like, ever at work, I always felt like you could trust me.
Yeah.
But it's like, but see, as a good partner, you know what I would do? The minute you were even going for that extra hit, bro, when I seen you, I'm going to go get you. I'm going to, hey, Necochea, hey, my boy, hey. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, but I mean, it just,
and
just, when you see stuff like that, on camera, of course, if you're watching it from your computer, you're going to point out all the faults.
Yeah.
You're going to point out all the things. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you need that experience of the main. Like, you have to be involved in a few incidents because you're going to make mistakes, man. But when I see stuff like that, like on video, and then they want to, like, crucify somebody for, their actions.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
I remember, like, hey, dude, when you're in there, bro, the fucking anxiety that's going on in your fucking brain, the decisions you got to make, the tunnel vision, your motor skills are all fucked up, and you know what I mean. You're trying to
and that's on a good day. Imagine a fucked up day.
Yes,
that's
you know what I mean. And then you gotta like put it together, like, oh shit, what's going on?
And then imagine you don't got the best trainee. Say they're not. They're
not there yet,
and
they're not there
that
yet.
can make it even more difficult.
When you're a trainee, you don't have that mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Every trainee should at least have 2 to 5 years main experience, man. 2 to 5 years main experience, because you're gonna get that. You know what I mean? And then main 5,
or at least a year. I'd say a strong, solid year. Because I promoted at 14 months into class. So, and it
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
on
I
me.
did too. I think I was 13 months in the class.
So I was, no, I was 13 months. I was 14 months in the facility. Like I only had 14 months.
Me too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Me
Okay,
too.
I didn't have a lot of time.
And I can tell you, did I learn a lot in that unit? Heck yeah. Did it advance my game? Yes, it did. But when I promoted a corporal, this is what happened. When I went to those floors,
You think like a class
it
officer?
was a different.
Hey, you think like a class officer?
Think like a class officer, bro.
Come on, my boy.
I was new, bro. I felt like a trainee all over again. Here I am with stripes, and I'm sitting here trying to like, oh shit, I gotta get this guy to his cell. Like, how do I? Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? That's where you rely on the OGs. That's where you rely on your next officers down. You know, your CO2s, your CO3s.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to two officers, two OGs that I used to always see like that would come through. Right. The first one is Pre. Right? So if you went to the floor with Pre,
dude,
and he would look at you like, look, dude, like, he'd break it down to you like, I know you're the corporal, and he's still like, basically let me know like, I know you are, but I know you're young. So I'm you either could take this game and and learn, or kind of you're on your own. Like, I'm not gonna offer it to you more than once. And after that, bro, I always took it real chill and always had a good time. The other one I'm gonna shout out is Johnson. Remember?
Oh, Johnson.
Bro, Johnson was solid, bro.
Dude,
T. Johnson?
That's your Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle all rolled into one right
I
there.
don't know my boy about that.
Yeah.
I'm a Raider fan. We'll go Gentney and Bowers, homie, running back, tight end. But no, yeah. But I get, you know what I'm saying? And those gentlemen, like right there, always were willing to help, And I remember starting off as a newer corporal coming out. Dude, at the end of the day, like, bro, I would use the class was like the biggest. I'll give a story, right? So I'm going to a new floor, and the story is based off of the inmate that ended up hooking up with the CO, remember? So he thought he had all kinds of clout, right? So you I'm walking onto the floor. This is a bad floor, bro. Like, it's like incident after incident every night prior to me coming on the shift change, I know I don't know if you know the floor I'm talking about.
I think so.
Yeah, okay. So that was when me and Kanal were partners, that floor.
Yeah.
And bro, problem after problem, right? And I gave a story about it when I went to FPOD. Mind you, this has already been, these inmates are, once again, when I told you I made that deal with the guy that came, hey, Gonzalez, we promise tonight it'll be squared away. That pod was a dropout pod. So, there's no politics in there as far as there's no structure, there's no leadership. You're always going to get the ones that are a little stronger here, and they're going to get what they want, but you're not. Everyone else is not going to care, bro, because they dropped out, right? But that's not the case sometimes. Some dropout pods is the complete opposite, bro. These fools are still active. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, we're dropout, Lewis Street. We're dropout here. We're dropout there. I don't mean intend to drop any names, but I'm gonna drop out Norteño, or I'm gonna drop out, this, and I'm gonna drop out that. It's like, okay, well, why don't you just stay active then? Like you're over here, like this is a dropout pod. Because then you got the real guy that dropped out, right? Because he's over there stretched out in the main. And then he comes to dude. Because I remember one night we were working. I don't know if you remember, because we used to work B2s together, remember? Mm-hmm. And I remember one time where I go, hey, because it was you and another officer. You guys were newer. And I had, I wasn't the corporal in there. I was the corporal in there meantime for a corporal that was out, remember, for a little bit. So I kind of went in there and I'll tell you guys, like, look, bro, you guys are on the desk, right? I'm just here to, like, if you guys have any issues and you guys need some backup, or you guys, like, interview-wise, that's it. Just overlook the paperwork and then give it to the sergeant in the morning, and then we're good, right? I'm pretty chill. That's how I kind of came in, right? We'll do what we do. And I remember one night, bro, it was like we had, like, 50 on the workflow, and then we already had, like, 6 problems. And I remember, I think you were on the desk, and you're like, I go, you want me to handle the desk? You're like, yeah. You go, I'll knock out the workflow quick. I was like, I got the desk. All right, cool. Bro, right? I had issue after issue after issue. Remember, I was like bragging. I was like, watch me swim, homie.
Like, yeah.
And then the other corporal that came in that night, he's like, hey, my boy, you're drowning right now.
He's fucking floating face down.
Because you work.
Sinking like the Titanic.
Dude, well, back to like where you have to talk, right? Right? This kind of threw me off. So I kind of got a little into it. But back to this floor with this inmate, he thinks that it's his floor. It's his pod. I run the show. Mm-hmm. I called in, bro, and I was like, hey, I need a favor. This vato needs to go to discipline, something. And he's KS'd everywhere, dude. So when I call, I know I'm calling for, like, it's pretty much like What don't we do as a floor officer? Like, you don't want to just go call for your problem and tell class, hey, this is a problem, I can't. You call when it's absolutely necessary. Like, hey, dude, I got, At this point, I guess I just wanted to. The goal in my mind was to send a message to this cat, like, hey, I'll get you moved any moment. I don't give a fuck who you are,
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna walk in and tell me like, oh, because you did this with the CO or you did that with this person or that's just, hey, I don't care, bro. That has nothing to do with me. How is that gonna affect my night, good or bad?
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, I called the homie in there. I go, hey,
This
10
dude-
days.
This dude got
And
discipline.
he has a lot of time, right? But we already know he's paper.
Yeah.
Gonzalez came on. He discriminated against me. He just blah, 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 blah. But we could justify 10 days, right?
Yeah.
And I think like a class officer too, right? Now I'm like, okay, I know what can I. So I go in there and I pull a big game. I pulled them out one day, right? Hey, come here real quick. Second day on the floor. Come here real quick. Pulled them out. Put him in the classroom. Went in there. I wrote all his shit up. Hey, I'm gonna bend the rules a little bit. Because remember, he always had shit that wasn't even supposed to be his. So there was a bunch of commissary he had. But then his slips didn't show it.
Because he stole it.
So then they were all like, hey, that's his. I was like, nah, they're mine. I was like, but look I'm going to keep track of all of it. I had like, took that little slip in. I go, I got track of all this right here. I'm going to come back right now, right? And I'm going to figure out what I want to do with my commissary. But if anything is touched, I got inventory right here. I'm gonna come in and fucking search everybody's shit. So now I roll out the biggest problem in the pod. He goes to the hole, right? The homie already told me like he's gonna come back after 10 days though. I was like, all right, cool. I already had a story in my mind what I was gonna tell him when he came back. So I go back in the pod, back to all that commissary that he didn't get, and he was all tripping. He's like, "Where's my commissary at?" I was like, "Where's the slips at? Per your slips, you have what you." And he just goes, oh, like that, Gonzalez? I was like, it's been like that, my boy. Goes, leaves, right? I go in the pod. What I did was, bro, I go, hey, check it out. I called like a little pod meeting, and I already called the sergeant, like, don't trip when you look at a pod. Look like I'm going to have a little chat with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just let him know, like, hey, there's X amount of you guys in here. There's an X amount of commissary right here. In my mind, unless you can come and claim it and show me proof, I'm gonna split it because I don't know who it is. I'm gonna split it in the best way possible, and each inmate's gonna get. I think they add up to 3 items a person, right? We're gonna start you off 3 items. Either it's a soup, candy bar, fucking the little packs to drink. Hey, those little packs come in clutch when they have to drink that water, and they throw the little, hey, Gonzalez, tastes like cherry. Do what you gotta do, my boy. It is what it is. Or the way they drink milk in there, like the fresh cold milk. You know what I'm saying? Like it gets kind of like, hey, But no, that's what I was trying to say. Like like you learn that. I passed it on to all those inmates, bro, and I didn't have no issues in that pod the rest of the year. Obviously pods turn over every 3 months, right? Because inmates come and go. It's county jail.
Yeah.
But the majority that stay in there, if you can keep that, once a program is started, what I was trying to explain in that video too is like, my program wasn't started. Like, this dude's challenging me. The TVs are already off. Like, I already got everything I need to do, and he's still challenging me with a group of people. So it's like, okay, do I go put myself at risk because I have my prides here now? And am I going to go in there and more than likely, not win a battle with more inmates? And mind you, we're starting off, so they don't have no respect for me yet.
Yeah.
They don't know who I am. They don't know what I'm about.
Exactly. Yep.
And so what I did was like, okay, I'm going to show you what I'm about, right? All these other inmates, like, okay, once they hear me on the radio, bro, everyone right kind of dispersed. But he stood his ground the whole time until I was like, all right, let's go. But then I had to like, well, we're going to get it. Don't worry. Like, I'm going to give you a chance to get yours. Like, it's not going to be unfair. But like, you're right here. I know you're causing a scene. Back to when they're around each other, they're gonna cause a scene. They're not gonna be. But once you put them 1-on-1, how are they as a class officer when you talk to somebody? After you put them 1-on-1 when they're already all pumped up in a pod,
Yeah.
it's calm.
Yep.
Hey, my girl's tripping, bro, and my cord, and this or that, whatever the excuse is, right? Of why they had to disrespect you, but deep down that they just apologized to you. You won't have a problem with me. And then usually when they go in, unless they're knuckleheads, bro, they're not going to go like, oh, no, Gonzalez got at me or Necochea got at me. And it's like, they're usually good after that. You know, most times. That's not all the time. You know, because you have like you said, certain floors. You go to a certain pod, certain inmates, like they're not gonna stop. Like they're gonna be them. You just have to learn to deal with them. Like what do they like? What don't they like? You know. But back down. I know I'm like kind of jumping. Back down to the inmate, right, in this pod. He comes back after 10 days, bro. Right? With a big old cheesy smile. He goes, you got to put me back. That's the only place I can go. Right?
Yeah.
And so I go, do you not know where I worked for 5 years? I just came out of that unit fresh. Like the water's still right here, homie. Like, I haven't even dried it off. Mm-hmm. I was like, I fucking know another spot you can go quick. Main jail 4A4. Right? Because, you know, the no TV shot. He's all like, oh, like that? And I was like, so you got to remember, they called me to get the, you know, permission for you to come back. Are you good to come back? I said, yeah, bring him back. I want to give him a chance. And bro, he went back. And yeah, he did kind of run his little politics, right? People they had a little following. But when he programmed, guess what? Everybody else programmed. Mm-hmm. So it made, as long as, this is the thing is, like, I think as a CO, if they want to talk shit to you one day, like call you out your name, address it, right? But don't hold the grudge and then the next day bring it back. Just know, like, just the one day when they're like, hey, you're a fucking badass CO, you know, hey, you know, thank you. Then that same guy's gonna motherfuck you the next day. You know? So it's like you gotta understand the difference, like, and understand why are you motherfucking me. Through time, you're gonna build consistency, even with inmates.
Yep.
But you just never know, bro. Like that's why you gotta have really thick skin in that motherfucker, dude.
Thick skin and no grudges, bro.
Yeah, really try. I'm gonna say I didn't, bro.
There's no grudges. You
Yeah.
can't hold grudges, man. And I think that's probably one of the difficult things, you know what I mean, is it's the grudges, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wish certain people in management wouldn't do that either, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you know, you can't.
You're talking grudges in general.
Just grudges in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With inmates, you know what I mean? You got to be able to, like, okay, cool, I was, you know, in a scuffle with an inmate, this and that, and he hit me in the face and this and that, or whatever, whether he got the best, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, you see him 6 months, a year down the line, this and that. Say, hey, how you doing, man? This and that. You just give him lunch. Like nothing happened. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's just different, man. It's just a different culture. You know what I mean? And you can't hold grudges, man.
You know, I remember one time I went in to get a, like pretty much cell extractor guy, right? And I didn't mean to, so his nails were so long, bro. Right?
Yeah.
So he kicks me. And when he hits my leg, bro, at the time I felt like, oh, he kicked me good, bro. Like, good. To the point, dude, where I was like, I had to limp out. Bro, if we were on B2s at the time, so it was that Sunday, we were off all 4 days. I still had to call in on Friday, bro. Because when his skin, the nails had penetrated my skin and the force, bro,
infection,
and it gave me
bacteria.
an infection,
Yep.
dude.
That's
I had to go to the doctor and get antibiotics. It was still like I was like by Saturday I went to work, but it was like I had to wrap it, you know, and I couldn't report it because I shouldn't have been in the cell, you know. I went in there real quick I forgot he wasn't giving up his tray. You know?
Oh, those are rough.
He wasn't giving up his tray. And he was already on the and then I wanted to one more piggyback. This is what I was going to get you on earlier, bro. I was going to tell you, why didn't you, if the guy kept like ripping the clothes, I was like, why didn't you push for full restrictions? So he had no clothes, just the garment. And then the justification could be like, hey, he's always ripping his stuff. He's always flooding. He's always, you know.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
know
at
what you
this
mean.
point, like,
and I think because,
but that's a class officer in me thinking,
Yeah.
full restrictions, homie. Your class, come on, my boy.
Yeah.
I was like, I was already gonna, I was gonna jump on your
it's
top.
True, it's true, but I think our goal that year was, or just in general, but like that year especially, you know what I mean? With me and Tal, we weren't trying to. We were trying to help. I guess.
That helps. Full restrictions.
It does.
Hey, you're gonna learn.
It does.
Appreciate your clothes.
It does. You know what I mean? But I think with him, he was just so psyched, man. You know what I mean? If we would have taken it, he wouldn't have known. You know, would he have cared? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's why I stood
then
down.
now,
Because the end of the story ended up being a good ending. So I was like, but I wanted to bring it back because we are just talking about.
yeah, but no, yeah, we could have done restrictions and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
but I think my goal was just like, let's just try to help this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
nothing's working with him.
Yeah.
Nothing would work with him. It didn't matter. You could leave him in there naked. He probably wouldn't even know or
Yeah.
even care.
No, there were some like that.
You know what I mean? He wouldn't even know to even care that he was on discipline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just like, that one we're just trying to humanize him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're just trying to humanize it and stuff like that. But and it ended up working. It ended up working with us. So I'll never forget that. But that's what happened with that. So.
Yeah, no. I mean, it ended up being that was a good story. But I'm talking about in general, like because I went in and this dude's on full restrictions, right?
Yeah.
So then that's when I asked what the first question came to me. This is why I went in though. So I kind of just gave myself up. Like I went in there because I told my staff messed up, bro. They gave him a dinner tray. And he's supposed to have the foam, So that's on me as a training officer, because I had told, I don't know if it was, she was a female, and she was like, well, I didn't know. I was like, his name's on the carton. I told you this before I put you back by yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna argue with her at that point.
Yeah.
Look at see,
I mean, it happened
I could have been
already.
two ways. I could have just came down like, no, like I told you this, and blah 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 blah, like right. But it's not gonna help. He has the tray, So now I had to go in there and get the tray. Well, when I went in there and got the tray, I found out real quick, one, why he was on full restrictions, and two, that this guy's a straight cat / he's an aggressive inmate, right?
Yeah.
And so what did I do? Being the leader, I'm the first one in, last one out, bro. So when I'm on my way out, he's in a combative stance and he fucking swings the kick quick. But when he swings, I thought he was gonna swing at me up top because we were kind of close.
Yeah.
So I kind of leaned this way. Dude, I left my leg, bro. Bah! Yeah, dude. And then his freaking sharp claws clipped me. So I remember coming home, bro. I didn't walk for like 3 days. I was just, it was crazy. And I never reported it because now I'm at a problem. That's in serious trouble, right? Like, why didn't you just call? Like, why didn't you just, I mean, all that went through my mind on the days off. Like, yeah, that's what, I had to just go through it. And remember, that's bending the rules sometimes. Sometimes, like,
Yeah.
you're trying to defend your trainee at that point. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to call my sergeant and be like, hey, my trainee made a mistake. No, I made a mistake as a training officer. I put her in the situation. So guess what? I got to go fix it.
Yep,
And
exactly.
I had to take the hit one time. I remember, dude, there was another incident right now, and I'll say real fast. I was working in the AJ, and I had told the officers, like, hey, make sure when we send someone to medical that the sergeant is notified, right? I don't get, and even if it's routine, whatever, and notify the sergeant, When it comes to medical, don't notify them. Hey, I took the inmates out. I took them to gym. Hey, right here. Hey, no, not that. But if an inmate has to go to medical for any reason, I talk about main jail too, not a sick call on the floor.
Yeah.
Main jail too. Let the sergeant know. Hey, I sent this inmate over per the request of this or as precaution. And then go escort the inmate.
Mm-hmm.
It's a medical issue. So if you're telling me this inmate has an issue and you guys let him walk over to the main jail too, what if he would have fell in the tunnel?
Yeah.
This is what I'm telling my staff. Well, the sergeant, old school sergeant, bro, calls, choose the trainee, right? I get mad because there used to be another officer who thought he was a training officer. He wasn't, He is, I think he is now, but I don't want to give for the sake of the story, just to, now that I'm already in it with it, right?
Yeah.
He had gave some orders to my trainee pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went and chewed, him later, but I went to the sergeant's office, right? And I said that he was a routine sick call, right? And he didn't get transported out through us. The AJ2 did it, and he was like a routine sick call through them. We're not supposed to notify you initially on that. Mm-hmm. Now, were we wrong when we didn't notify you when we found out he was going to go to main jail 2? Yeah, we were wrong there. But, sir, if you're going to yell at anybody, sir, you need to yell at me. I'm the corporal.
Yeah. Yep.
So my trainee's crying over there on the floor. Like, she's bawling, crying because of what you told her. And I don't know exactly what you told her. I just came straight over here to let you know, like, if you're going to yell at anybody like that, you should have yelled at me, And I didn't come at him disrespectful. I didn't come at him foul. I pulled him aside, They were all having coffee. And I pulled him aside and I told him as respectful as I could. I wasn't all aggressive, right? I was like, if you're gonna chew anybody out, sir, it should be me. You know, I'm the corporal. Like, I should have notified you that they went to main jail too. It's nothing to do with her. She did nothing wrong. He went over there and made it right with her, bro. Later, told her like, hey, he was sorry. I had to chew the guy that thought he was at the time a training officer. I was like, look, your time will come. It's just not now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's steps that have to be followed, dude. You know, like, and look, you almost got her in trouble. I had to go take the ass chewing for you. But then later on, dude, when shit needs to get done on your floor or stuff has to go down, they remember that. So they have your loyalty, bro. Mm-hmm. And that, like right there, that's when you become, brotherhood, sisterhood, because, you know, because you're so close, bro. You're in battle with these people, you know? Like, how many times when you're in a certain housing unit that has a bunch of psychs, bro, like you said, anyone could pop off, my boy. Mm-hmm. So use of force could be in there quick. And then the thing that just sucks is that if it's the officer that does it is always a use of force guy. You're like, hey, my boy, help me help you. Mm-hmm. And then you go and talk to the pod, and they're like, you already know the way he is. Like, you know, the officer. Yeah. Like, they're psychs, bro. They're there all like, we're not going to say nothing to him. You know, and he's over there in his report, inmate, you know, blah, 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 blah. I mean, which I'm not saying it's wrong. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I would just try to tell him, like, that's why you can't always cry wolf. You know, because then when you really do see it or something bad happens or you're in a freak situation, you know, people know you as a heavy-handed, my boy. Yeah. So it's gonna be really hard, you know. And you try to give those talks as a leader, right? And I think it's because of where we came from, classification, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I mean, trying to think of anything else to ask you before we kind of head out or end it. Do you want to speak on anything, or is there anything that comes to mind? Or
no, not right now.
I think when we were in the and I'm gonna kind of get you on this one. We're in the garage, and I go, no, save it for the podcast. Remember?
Yeah.
I think you should talk about that.
We're talking about the hardest thing I had to deal with at the jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, it's not the inmates. You know what I mean? Of course, you're always gonna have that sense of fear, which you should. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The sense of anxiety, especially when you're new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know? And of course, that's hard, but you know, you overcome it. Just keep working hard and be respectful. Treat people like they're humans. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think the hardest thing that I've ever had to overcome there at the jail, and you know, it had to do with management, and that's one of the whole reasons I got involved in the union and wanting to do what I did. You know, and you know, of course, Gomez. You know what I mean? He was one of my biggest mentors there. You know what I mean? Prado. You know what I mean? I want, you know, but I remember
Gomez.
Shout out to Gomez, man. But it was just, you know, one of the hardest things that I had to deal with there is with management. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I remember, I'm not going to say no names, but I remember is like, you know, we had got these orders, like, hey, you know, of course it was 5. Like, hey.
Main 5.
Yep.
Okay.
Main 5.
For the viewers to understand.
You know, we had these guys, you know, they come in and they're like, hey, you need to go take all their stuff. They're on discipline for whatever reason.
Can you say what was the what pod was it so we can understand the sophistication level?
I don't remember the pod. I think it was
Was it B pod?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was a medium pod, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Still bad, but yeah.
Still bad.
Yeah.
But you know, they had you know, we got the orders right, and I said, okay, you know, it's fine. And I had a sergeant. He was new. You know, and of course you're gonna rely on your sergeant on a lot of stuff like this.
For sure.
And so I told sergeant, I go, hey, just to let you know what kind of pod this is. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, not a walk in the park.
It's not a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get any help? No, just you for right now. All right, cool. So I did it the best I could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go in there. You know what I mean? You go to the first. You take their stuff, do the inventory, stuff like that. Well, these guys catch on. So and then you go to the next cell. Okay. And everybody else. So what do? They board up. Boom. Everyone will. And not only do they board up, they're not listening to us. You know, you try to de-escalate. Let the sergeant know. He tries to de-escalate.
I remember.
Class. And then these guys start they start suiting up. Boom. Put the bandanas on. Like they're going to war.
Shit.
It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
The anxiety's there, man. I got trainees, you know what I mean? I was like, fuck.
Yeah, and you're on the what we consider like the baby shift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those B2s.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I had Tal with me. Thank God I had Tal there. You know, and
You know, I remember this because that weekend, I don't know if you remember, I got called in and I did overtime, and then I came and escorted one of the inmates out of that pod for you.
did you? I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was it was a yellow suitor.
Yes.
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 Long
yes.
day, longer dreads.
Yes.
Come on, my boy.
Yeah.
You
okay.
forgot?
Okay, I forgot about that.
Come on,
But
don't
yeah, you're right.
disrespect.
You're absolutely right. So
You guys couldn't get him. Remember, everyone was tripping. Hey, we had the little debrief.
Mhm.
Remember? And then I was like, "Hey, it's this guy." And then you guys were like, "Yeah." I was like, "I got good rapport with him." And then you were like, "Nah, hey, he's tripping." And I was like, "Just give me a." He was in South 16. Remember?
Yes.
And then I go, let me just go try to talk to him.
Yes.
And remember, I got him to come out, cuff up, put
Yes.
him out.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, that
Yeah.
comes back down to our rapport. But I'm sorry I cut you off. But
Yeah, no,
I
no,
remember
you're
your
right.
story. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
your story.
So we get there, you know what I mean? I'm like, all right. I go, hey, Sarge, these guys are ready to fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And, they were
Oh, yeah.
ready to fucking go.
Yeah. That he was a former yellow suitor.
Yeah, and I was just like, fuck. I go, all right, well, Sarge. And then he goes, what are we going to do? Nope, continue with it. All right. You guys aren't going to, well, what are we going to do? Like cell extractions, each and every one. You got to remember, each one of these cells had 3 inmates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they weren't just some fucking
Yeah.
bullshit
These
inmates.
are all
They
active gang
were
members.
Active gang members.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, we get there, and so they call this commander. Okay, I'm not gonna say his name,
Yeah, for sure.
but I told my sergeant, I'm like, hey, Sarge, we should activate a certain team to get over here, you know, to handle the
Yeah.
crime. But I had an issue prior to this with this commander, you know, and the issues I had with him, I'm not gonna share, but you could tell he would take it personal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So as soon as he showed up, he saw that it was me, and I knew like he's gonna seize this opportunity to get back at me. I knew he was.
Retaliation.
Exactly. They're not gonna claim that, but it's exactly what it is, and I
Yeah.
felt it. You know what I mean? When you could fucking,
Oh, yeah.
you could feel it.
Yes, sir.
I felt it. So I went to my sergeant, brand new sergeant. Hey, Sarge, we need this, and we need these tools, and this is how we got to do it. And at first he was like, okay. He went over there to go talk to that certain. Right? Nope. What do you mean, no, Sarge? No, we're just gonna go in there. No tools, no nothing. No, you're just gonna go in there. No shield, no.
Okay, I was gonna say, can you explain what did you request?
Yeah,
Okay,
no shield, no.
Yeah, a little team.
No fog or no grenades, something.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
All these tools that we got,
Yeah,
because these guys are ready to go.
yeah, man.
No, how are we gonna do it? Nope. The one person's gonna be in the front. We're gonna go in there with what? That's it.
Hands.
So I go, man, I can't fucking let my trainee do this. So I said, fuck it, put me in front. I complained, and I said, no, we got to do this. No. To me, I was like, that's weird because this isn't how we train. How do we train? A fog or grenade, gas, something. No, you're going in there, puro chingazos. A la madre. All right, so I told my Sarge. But he wasn't confident enough in his ability, whatever, so he listened to that other one. What do? All right, then. Some cell extraction, whatever we do. We go in there. Boom. First one. Chingazo City. Bah. Take a few hits. Bah,
Chingazo City, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they're like rock'em sock'em fucking robots.
So there's 3 of these motherfuckers in there.
Yeah.
So you go at
And
the
I'm
first.
the first one. Boom. Take a few hits. I'm getting
Aye.
to the last guy.
Okay.
Because, you got the whole team. We had a team behind me.
Yeah, Mando.
You know what I mean? But it wasn't like there was like, some baton, cuffs, this is nothing.
Yeah.
We're going in there just,
Yeah, you get it.
right? Nothing. Like, Sarge, this isn't the way to do it, Sarge.
Yeah, no. Hell no.
You know what I mean? Then you have all the people up all the way to the top there. Like, no, this is what we're going to do. And I'm requesting, we need to fog these guys. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this.
Yeah.
No. Nope. Okay. Next cell. Das. Right?
That just sounds like
I
a
think
problem.
that day I must have got into 7 different fights, bro. Never in my career have I experienced that. Right? I get there. The fourth one.
That's not very good leadership right there.
No, the
At
fourth
all.
one. Maldo shows up. I respect that dude. What the heck? He goes and he advocates for me.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck are we doing? This, and that, right? This, and that. He wasn't able because I think he was a corporal at the time, if I remember right. He wasn't a sergeant yet.
No, okay.
But he goes, tries to step in, man. Hey, this is what it is. No, these are the orders. He fucking jumps in line with me. He says, fuck it, we're going to go in, Nico. We're going to go in together. And Ariza.
All right.
Riza showed up too.
I mean,
He's not,
Ariza.
fuck, why are we doing it? Like,
He's been asking
like,
for a shout. Shout out to Ryza.
or a shout out to Riza, Maldo. And I'll never forget those guys, man, because they jumped right in there with me.
For sure.
They knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
Maldo tried to advocate. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And fuck it. Cool. He couldn't. I was fucking Maldo can't fucking. It's Maldo, bro.
Yeah.
If Maldo can't get, you know what I mean? All right, cool. What does he do? Fuck it, Nico, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I respect that. Cool.
Leadership.
Went to the next one. Next one, I took a fucking hard chingazo. Boom.
Gotcha.
We ended up fucking boom, boom. I hit the fucking dude. All of a sudden, my fucking, you know what I mean? You got to remember, like, I've had years of combat training.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was a wrestler since I was a kid, and then I've done years of jiu-jitsu, and, I've taken some Muay Thai and stuff like that, and I think this is going to be the hardest fight I've ever dealt in my life. Biggest fucking challenge. Back to back to back to back. I got to the fourth cell, right? Mind you, we got 16 cells we got to do.
Yeah.
This is the fourth cell we're on.
It just doesn't seem smart
No.
at all.
No. And everybody knew it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, because your commander was there. That's what he said. That's what he says is going to go. Cool. What does management do? Everybody falls in like, okay, cool. They're going to believe what he says. That's what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I get in there. What happened? My hand breaks mid-fight. I knew it was all fucking, it didn't work. We get there, Maldo comes, get those guys in cuffs, and then I'm like in shock. You know what I mean? Because I had never broken anything. I'm like, dude, all these three fingers work, man. That's it. Maldo looks at me, bro. Just go to main jail too. You know what I mean? He cared.
Yeah.
Sergeant didn't give. Nobody didn't give a fuck. I mean, bro, go. Like, just get out of here, dude. I'll handle it, Nico. Right. They went later. We went to the hospital. Everything. Couldn't find out. As soon as I left, and that person knew that I was gone, what do? They fogged the next fucking cell. Right? They didn't even have to go in there to do the extraction. Dudes complied, handcuff. Once the other cells, they're fogging them. Everybody gave up.
Yeah.
But at what cost?
Yeah, the officer going down.
That was the point for me where I was like, it made me not want to be here no more. You know what I mean? Because the stress, the anxiety that came with that. I was out months. And I was like, I got to go back. Do I want to go back to that?
Yeah.
But here was the turning point for me. You know what I mean? And again, it was thanks to Gomez and Prado.
Yeah.
And I went back. Oh, and Ebal too.
Ebal.
Thanks
yeah.
to her. They were almost like my therapist.
Yeah.
I went
Ebal's
back.
a good therapist.
Oh yeah,
Listen.
no, for sure, for sure. You know what I mean? And that's why I have so much respect for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll fucking go to the ends of the earth with her, man. She's awesome, and she helped me out. I slowly went back. You know what I mean? And just all the anxiety and depression that you were dealing with, all that shit. That you know what I mean? And it was just like they made me see it like this. Instead of getting angry at the department and say blaming this and saying F management, this and that is a horrible place to work. I don't want to be here. I'm gonna go leave the CDC. I'm gonna go leave to another place. Do something about it. Change. Well, how are you gonna make that change? How are you gonna make that change with management and you know what I mean, and dealing with people like that? You know what I mean? The union, brother.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I got into it. That's exactly why, because I never want somebody to be put in a position that I was in like that and to have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And possibly get hurt, injured, or worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's when I was like, you know what? Thank you guys. I'm going to get involved with this union. And, here I am. And that's what it is. And, things have gotten a lot better. You know what I mean? I can honestly say they're a lot better. You still got your kinks that you got to work out. But, message that I'd have to people was just, including management or everything, is just, just don't take nothing personal. You know what I mean? People make mistakes, hold grudges, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just don't take it personal, man.
Yeah.
Because when you do stuff like that, on either side, you know, whether you're dealing with the enemy, whether you're dealing with management, that's how people get hurt.
I think I've been wanting. So the kind of crazy part is I'm going to tie this back to God real quick, okay? So I think the reason the first time I didn't jump on you about full restrictions is because you brought up that you pushed with love, right? And I
Yes.
believe like when you come to Jesus, like that's what you try to learn. Move with love, right? And obviously I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of. I know you had your experience with management, and you obviously saw I had mine, right? And I kind of told it yesterday in the podcast, but I really left the jail due to pretty much getting demoted. You know, that was the main reason. Ultimately, you can't really call it a pride thing. I did it from February to December, 10 months, no stripes. You know, that wasn't easy. It was pretty hard, you know. But I look at it like God has shown me everything is why it's had to happen, right? Of pieces of the puzzle. And if that would have never occurred, Nico, I don't think I would have ever, you know, be doing this, right? Be where I'm at today. As far as my spiritual life, right? I've given my life to the Lord, you know, and I feel like it's really helped me, you know. So I wanted to kind of take the time on this podcast to really, I guess you can say, make amends, right? Move with love and forgiveness. Forgiveness is hard, right?
Yeah,
and
it is.
I think anyone that I could say I had hate in my heart for, I want to say it now, like especially to that person, you know, as far as the person that was responsible for the start of my stripes, right? I don't want to say any names. I think it's pretty, you know, well clear that I've forgiven I have no hatred towards that person. You know, if anything, you know, I hope the best for that person, you know, obviously. And I mean that in a godly way, 100%. I would have never been pushed to my next level without that, right? Without having to go through that struggle, without having to go through that, just trial, you know, tribulation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's showing me a different way. It gave me, you know, I've been wanting a podcast, bro, for 5+ years, you know, and I finally like got it. Yesterday I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna try to use it every podcast too. My favorite verse is Isaiah 60:22, and so basically it states, "When the time is right, I the Lord will make it happen." Right. So look at how long I had to try to get you, and I finally got you on. You know, and other people were like, "Dude, just keep pushing, you know." So it's like finally, look at it's finally happened, right?
Yeah.
And look at how we kind of just flowed through conversation.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring up the fact that like my experience with management, you know, obviously like I'm putting it out there, like I have no ill towards feelings, you know, like there's nothing bad. I feel like I'm going to the next levels of my life now, the next chapters. And
yes,
I feel like everything I learned from the jail, right? And the training and the experiences and, you know, the combative inmates, like, bro, it's kind of crazy how you talk about a story that ultimately got you hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you remember I went that weekend, bro, and I went and got that guy out for you guys because he wasn't listening to nobody. And it was, and I remember I was like, I can get him to come out, bro.
Yep.
And
I remember that.
There was like, no, and I was like, I promise you. And then, well, how many guys you need behind you? I was like, I don't need nobody.
Yeah.
I go, I don't need nobody.
Yeah.
I go, you want to bring Nico because he's the corporal member? I was like, Nico can go with me.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, I don't, you know, I'm not trying to like, obviously, look at you, you're in a great position.
Yeah.
But in a way, like, you know, I've had you under my wing for a little bit in classification, so
Yep.
like not a trainee, but
Yeah.
I got to take you with a lot.
I
of
learned a
interviews
lot
with
from
me,
you there. I learned a lot.
you know,
from you there
and
too, so.
I learned a lot from Shu. So I felt like
Yep.
my technique, as far as the way you would interview, kind of came that way.
Yep.
You know? And that particular inmate, the reason I had a good rapport with him, because when I was in class, bro, the first time, he was coming from discipline from the North Jail, and I had talked to him, and I was like, look, bro, I can give you X amount of days, or I can give you this amount and give you a chance. I'll put you in the main jail, but you got to act right. I was like, but you got to give me your word you're going to act right. You know, like, if not, you owe a lot. And back then, remember, like, we didn't really have we had a specific amount, but we can keep someone in discipline for up to 3 months, bro. Like, that's almost 100 days, you know, 90 days.
Yep.
Like, that's a lot of time, bro.
Yeah, I think it's different now, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think policy states something different now. I think they can't even be in more than 30, right? But it's different. But
know,
you know, back then he didn't want to do that time.
Yeah.
Gave him a chance, and then the rapport just kind of got built with him, and we're able to bring him out. And then, dude, we put him right into Yao after that. You know, because he was that competitive with staff, and that, I mean, he had a history of taking up on staff. It wasn't like, you know, That's why I trip out and I would try to talk to inmates about inmates like that. That this dude's so young that he's not a JCat per se. You know, he is, but he isn't. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, if he's gonna assault you, he knew he wanted to assault you. You know. So I was trying to tell him, like, those are the most scariest inmates because he could flip literally a lid at any moment.
Yep. It don't matter what you report.
Yeah.
You never know.
And so, like, I have a good rapport with him. I was pretty confident I can get him to come out. But at that point, if he's going to fight, I can't.
Yeah, there's nothing anybody could do.
I think I was a little arrogant when I go, who do you need? Oh, nobody, you know, because it's like, I really believed at that moment I could get him to come, you know, only because I had just done that cat a little favor during the week. Because remember, I was my floor too.
Yep.
I was just doing overtime.
Yeah, you're right. You're
I
absolutely
was just
right.
doing overtime. So. Even when you know your floor, bro, you know your floor, you know.
Yeah.
And I know he didn't want to leave that pod.
Yeah.
So I said, if you give us any problems not coming out of the cell, you know you're not coming back to this pod ever. And he goes, yep. And he came out. I want to come back to this pod. Because he knew he was gone.
Yeah.
He knew he messed up.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part about that place, you know, once you get so accustomed to certain people. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, dude, I mean, I felt like this was a good little first trial run. You know, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
my boy.
yeah. And shit, I'm willing to come back if you want to.
Yeah, no, because I remember we had talked. Okay, so back on it, you know, kind of giving back to the, you know, how this all occurred, right? I have something kind of in the works brewing, right? That I said I would love to partner up with different people and help me fulfill this dream of mine and this next, you know, venture of my life if it does occur or it happens, right? So it comes back down to, like, obviously not wanting to burn bridges, right? You want to make sure that you're cool with everybody, you keep everything in line, right?
Right.
But with you, I remember you telling me, like, dude, I want to start like a podcast for the union, you know. And I told you, well, I'd be willing to kind of go on with you, you know, and not necessarily make it a part about Insidethepodwlou, but if you wanted to necessarily, like, go on and start something, and I can kind of ask you questions, and I can kind of gather more intel from your staff, and then I can kind of ask them on the podcast, and it kind of, you could shoot it like a weekly thing, and then maybe, or like, you know, a monthly thing, since, you know, you kind of keep in contact that way, and then maybe you do a yearly meetup.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's an idea to be ran, and
yeah,
could make, because I mean, at that point, this is what's popular. I think I can give you the setup, and you can do it over there at the office, and then it would be easier to kind of just come in and shoot. Like, because me, I think if I do go on the road, I'm gonna get the little mics that you can kind of clip on.
Oh yeah,
and then I can do it that way, you know. But I'd have to, like, I would have to travel with this and the audio, so it's just I gotta figure it out, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Right now, my girl's trying to do that. It's like, but that would be kind of good. I think for the future. And
yeah. No, that's
talk more about, you know, whatever. I mean, there's always stuff kind of changing, right, rapidly as far as policy and how everything goes. But then you also have, once again, there's multiple groups, so you can kind of go on and make it more of like a, you know, just about your union, you know. And then I think I had my buddy, he just did a podcast with another guy that's starting a podcast here in our town, right? And he's the buddy that kind of helped me with my issue, the Teamsters. Remember I told you? Yeah. So
is that the TikToker that makes the food?
No, so that's Oscarin. He's gonna come on. Actually, he should be on soon too, because I already had it lined up. Bonilla, you, third was either my cousin Robert or maybe Hanko and Cece.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna come on Sunday.
Oh okay.
And then I was gonna do.
I gotta try some of that guy's ceviche, man. I seen his TikToks.
Now that's my homie. That's my homie. So, like, what I'll try to do one day, you don't think it would be kind of cool, is after season 1 is wrapped up of Insidethepodwlou, I'll try to do like a barbecue and invite everyone that I invited on my pod. So then we could all talk about.
I'll be down to come.
Well, we could talk about like how was season 1. I think I'll do like 10 interviews, you know, and then I'll call that like season 1.
Yeah.
And then I'll do like a big barbecue, and I'll make it like a habit after season 2, same thing.
Yeah, no, I get you.
It makes me kind of like grow as a, you know, an interviewer, right? Because I felt like in the beginning I was interviewing you, I was asking you the questions. Like, I was trying to think like a CO though. Okay, what would a CO ask you?
Yeah.
You know, and obviously when you touched on pay, bro, hey, I had to jump on that because you already know that's a big thing, whether you're brand new or whether you're an OG.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I didn't understand that I want to touch on real quick about OGs is, in I know they're so limited there, but even like people, I guess you could say now us, we're veterans there, right? Our group, and the new guys coming in is, as a new person, I could speak on this because I was new at one point. We were new. We came in and were raises to us. We're not raises to the OGs, you know, because they had lost that. but we started at a certain level. So
Yeah.
every time we're getting a raise, to us, we're like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And these fools are fucking pissed. Like, no. What do you mean, no? I mean, I'm good. Like, bro, and they were trying to make you understand, like, that's what they took from us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a raise, you know? Like, you're just getting your money back. Well, and I go, well, I'm getting a raise. So it kind of, it just sucked for the OGs because as they were getting their money back, we were getting raises.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like almost like a genius thing that the county did because it was like, they're giving you money that they had to give back, right? But they're giving it in increments. So it looks like every time it's a raise to the new people. So they're kind of keeping people there more frequent thinking, oh, I'm getting a raise. When in reality, you should have been getting paid closer to where. And I think now they're kind of higher, right? Everyone's getting paid. Because I'm telling you right now, bro.
It's gotten better.
Yeah.
It's not where we want to be.
No, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's gotten better, and I'm feeling very confident that it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it should.
For here on
right?
up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Because, I mean, we lose a lot of good staff, dude.
Dude, bad.
We lose a lot of good staff.
It's bad, man.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
we've lost a lot of good
my situation's different, but I'm talking about people that left for other
No,
departments.
yeah,
you know?
no, for sure.
It's like, bro, like
For sure,
man,
dude.
You know?
Bonilla's one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bonilla's one of them, dude.
Well,
I
dude-
was, you know.
I guess I'll ask him on the second. I'll ask him on the
Cunha.
second.
We lost Cunha.
Dude, Cunha. Yeah. That's a lot of experience
Yeah,
right there.
that's a lot of experience there.
And then look, he's over there like running the training place at his new department.
Yeah.
And then look at Bonilla. Bonilla's already like getting in the training there too. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like, so it's like
Yeah,
everyone
I'm
from
tired.
FSO
I'm tired of Fresno being the breeding grounds for
for just other agencies. Yeah.
other agencies, dude. That sucks. Like, you make good people here. We got good people here. Let's keep them.
Yeah. No, that's
Fucking keep them, man.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
Yeah. Because dude, when you look at a roster, dude, a roster is just like it comes back to sports, right? So when you look at the roster, I'm trying to think right now as a sergeant or a lieutenant. Okay, who's my sergeant in this facility, right? Bam, bam. Okay, I know they're strong at this point. They can handle this, right? Boom. Who's on second floor? Who's on third floor? Who's on fourth, fifth? You know, vice versa. Boom, 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 right? And then you look at like, okay, I always wanted to be that officer where like if they looked at it and like, oh, we're good, like we have nothing to worry about, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be like, oh, dude, I don't know, you know, like it's hit and miss, it's in the air, you know, like you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was the main, you know, thing for me.
Yeah.
You good over there?
Yeah. Just good, bro. Just memories, just thinking of stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's what I think I miss about it the most. Like, I think I miss like the interviewing when we used to go in. Remember, I used to, hey, let's go check this out real quick. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I like to interview multiples because then it's like if the story matches, then you know you're good. If it's different, you're like, hey,
Yeah, something's here.
something's off.
Yeah, no, you learn a lot in that unit, man. And
Yeah, it was cool. Like I said, the time I had there was cool, you know, and
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be for the next, right? Like I said, obviously going to the next step. I feel like being able to give back in that aspect as far as the training goes, and then if I could link up with certain people, like Bonilla would be a great example to come and say we wanted to do like a trial run as far as like an academy based, you know, he can come as a trainer and as a freaking drill sergeant.
yeah.
You know, because he's done hour one, week one, hour one, you know, day one, you know, those are the worst in the academy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I remember mine wasn't the hottest. So, you know, some people would talk about like in July, you put your hands on the concrete, 100 plus degrees. Yeah, it's early in the morning, but let's say he puts you in there at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And you could barely, you know, it's whatever. Just think of how hot the ground is, and your hands are directly on it, around like little, you know. And that had to change now because it's like you got to be like, you know. I heard people are just going out now, like, you know, going in code 2, code 3, you know, in the ambulance at an academy.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, my boy, when I ran in the stairwell, they were gonna fail me because they thought I wasn't hustling, but I'm allergic to dust. So the dust, when you know you're running, everyone's kicking the dust. So I couldn't breathe, my boy. Like literally, like I'm going man down, And
Yeah.
bro, Scroggins pulls me aside and was like, "Hey, what's up with your effort? Do you even want to be here?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "What? Excuse me?" He's like, "You didn't even run during the stairwell. You weren't even there to go get your brother or your sister. I don't want you on my team." Sir, I can't breathe in dust. I'm allergic. Dude, he felt so bad, bro. He's like, "What?" I go, "I have asthma." Like, and when dust comes, it's bad for me.
Game over, yeah.
Like, I'm shocked I'm still here talking to you right now. Like, it was, you guys, a bunch of dust in my face. Like, I don't even know how I made it to the top. You know, he was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You got to let me know if you have an issue."
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, and so after that, at least we did stairwells, bro, he'd make me do like extra running. Just, I'll go run outside because he knew it was going to mess me up.
Yeah.
But that comes back down to communication, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like those are the moments I miss, you know? Like, that's what I was saying. Bonilla can bring that in as far as that training environment, because those hour one day ones, bro, like, you know, I feel like nowadays, like with everything being so like criticized and you got to be careful as far as how you come at people. I feel like, you know, you got to watch what you say now. And back then it was like on site.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't care.
Yeah, you know, like culture change.
Yeah.
Culture
And it's
change,
just
so.
different, right? It comes back down to like, even, you know, let's just say I do get in the position that I might get, and I talked about to you, right? That's a certain age group now.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing when I did have my meeting, I was like, well, I have a son that age, you know? So it doesn't mean that they're all the same, but I know these kids have to be talked to a certain way. It's not, you know, you can't just not baby them, but
it's
you can't.
different.
Yeah,
It's just different. You got to have a different approach, and
yeah. And I feel like that rapport helped me from the jail, talking, you know, because we have to have rapport. It's not necessarily a relationship, because like you said, bend and break, right? And fraternization is in our policy. I feel like fraternizing to me is something that I feel like there's always a line, right? And fraternizing could be as simple as maybe even letting them borrow your pen, you know, like letting them, something that's out of policy.
yeah, it just, you know, it just depends.
Like on my incident, for example, like with the yellow suitor in the yard, when they tried to get me for fraternization, that's like what pissed me off. Like, how is that fraternizing? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm actually getting intel,
Yeah.
you know, but once again, I don't want to get too deep into that.
Yeah,
it's just,
no,
but
yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? It gets there's the thing I want to come back on it is there's a line, bro. You just don't cross that line as a CO. Like, just understand, you just got to know where the line is on each kind of, each incident that you enter, and each day know, okay, where's the line? For example, even when you're talking to your fellow coworker, like, say they come in, they say a joke or something, right? Or vice versa. It's an all male crew, and they say guy jokes, and then we get the female that comes on for overtime, or the trainee, you know, or whatever, right? And then those jokes continue that may not have offended the male group, may offend the female, right? I feel like as the corporal, you step in and you kind of let them know, like, all right, hey, because I'm not saying that they're not capable or competent to understand. It's just sometimes I don't think they're so young and they think everyone's just joking around. Like, no, hey, bro, we have a girl now. Like, you gotta, you know. Now, whether she attempts to bring that kind of banter to the group, I still say proceed with caution, because it could always change, right? And I feel like in your line of work, because I mean, I don't remember when I was there, I was like a rep. Remember, I got assigned. I got Gomez. When you're under Gomez, you're assigned stuff that you don't even realize you're doing.
Yep.
Hey, you're a union rep, by the way. What?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And remember you hitting me up. Hey, I need to get you. We need to make you an email. We need this, that.
Yeah.
Hey, my boy. Since when?
Yeah.
Oh, well, on paper, but 2 years already, my boy. That's how we know we're getting audited, so we need to get you. And it was just kind of like, then you do learn a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of go over stuff and people that get in trouble, and I feel like I said, that was just kind of a reminder of kind of be aware, right? Awareness, you know, as far as surroundings, because inmates hear everything, bro. If you're in a certain, like back then, now I think they closed it down though, right? The AJ's shut down.
Yeah, it's done. Yeah.
But back then, you know, you sat in with the area because it used to echo, and it's night shift, for example, everyone's asleep, and we're talking, we're having a conversation, and you're telling me your whole life story. Well, guess who else is hearing your life story, my boy?
Yeah.
The person right there in this pod that they have there. So now that person may have a big, you know, mouth, and now he's gonna go tell whoever, and then it just, you know how information right there can get spread very, very quickly.
Yep.
And I think that's how we get misinformed, you know, as far as information. So you always got to fact check. You always got to, you know, and it gets crazy, you know. So like, and that can happen in the North jail. That can happen in the main jail too. Like your night shift and the echo, someone in FF could probably hear you, right? So you just got to be careful as far as, you know, know your surroundings, and I guess try to not. I can't tell you how to be with people, right? If you're just open like that and that's how you communicate, then hey, do it, but just make sure you just do it safely, especially in a place like that, right?
Yep.
But I don't know. I feel like it's a good little first episode, and then maybe.
Oh yeah, no, it was good.
You have anything else you want to say?
No. Well, you know what? I want to give a shout out to Phil Chavez. You know, you want to talk about we're talking about building rapport.
Yeah.
That's another one I learned a lot from.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from that dude, and just the way he carried himself, handled the inmates, and you know, I took a lot of stuff from him, and you know, made myself, implement it on, you know, the way I do things, and stuff like that. But you know, one of the best piece of advice that he gave me, I was young. I remember I was young. He said, "Dude, you're so young." He goes, "If you want to retire as a tier 1, because you're tier 5, you know, we only get half our pay." He goes, "Put away your deferred comp, put as much as you can. Say fuck it, just dump it all in there." You know, that was 10 years ago. I could tell you right now, I don't regret it one bit. But he gave me that piece of advice, and that's one thing that I would tell anybody getting into this career. You know, tier 5's everywhere. Dump as much as you can. As much as you can, your deferred comp, you know, and you won't regret it. And I don't.
Yeah.
I don't regret it one bit, but, you know, good dude right there.
That's some good advice for, like, even just officers in general. Like,
just anywhere.
Yeah.
Just anywhere. Put as much money as you weigh. You know what I mean? Especially if this is going to be your career.
Yeah.
Put as much money away in your deferred comp as you can.
And it's not like we don't have the overtime, so you could always.
Oh no, it's there. It's there. Oh, it's there, man.
Make it
but if you want to retire like a tier 1 does, you got to put away.
Yeah.
You got to put away.
So what would you say a tier 5 would get after a 30-year career right now?
It just depends.
Just ballpark me.
About $2,000.
30 years and $2,000.
About 2,500 maybe.
Dang, that's crazy. So yeah, you
compared to like tier 1, which they'll get like $7,000.
7-8 grand. Yeah. I was just talking to a retired CDC officer. 17 years. He did 17 years, and then he stopped, and he's making almost 4,500 right now, $5,000. He only did 17 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's that's what.
Yeah, if I don't put away, I think I did the math one time. If I didn't put away, like not at all my deferred comp, all right, I started at 33. If I didn't put away at all, and I just relied totally like
30-year career,
and I want to retire as a tier 1, I'd have to be here till I'm 90.
90?
90.
No. Come on, my boy. Yeah, that's crazy. That is wild. You know, and I feel like
that's how much they've taken away. That's how much they've taken away from us, and you got to put away.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in this career, you got to put away. And you want to retire at 50, 55, put away, man, because if not, then, you know, when you retire here, you're going to be struggling. You're going to have to go work somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, me, almost 45, you know, my knees could only handle so much. I could only throw so many more fucking blows before I go out. And then if I'm out, who am I good to? Nobody.
No, yeah. You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think health is a big thing when you come back to it.
Oh, for sure. You got to be healthy, man. You got to have a hobby outside of this place. You know, whatever it is, fishing, hunting, traveling, whatever you think is, you have to find something. You have to find something, and, you know, of course, you know, exercise, eat right, because this place will eat you alive. It'll consume you.
Yeah.
It'll consume you, but you got to stay busy, and you got to save. You got to save, you know what I mean, if you want to retire, you know, decently. So,
well, I think that's good advice, bro. Like, because I think a lot of the, you know, obviously you saying the jail going younger. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of your members are going to watch this podcast when I announce that you're going to, you know, I'm going to release yours, right? And they'll probably, whether they stuck around to the very end of it, they'll get to hear a little bit of as far as, hey, you know, put away, this is important, this is, you know, this and that. And it creeps on you fast, bro. I felt like one of the main reasons I didn't put in for sergeant in the first round, like bro, I remember Murray was, you know, in the unit with us towards the tail end, and she was the one telling us, like, I'm going to take my classes, you guys should all take yours. So, like, Henry and other people, you know, we all did our classes. Well, they did theirs. I didn't do mine, bro. 'Cause I was like, we're too young. Like,
Yeah.
bro, we just promoted to corporal, and it's like, it was that fast, bro. And then now it's like everyone's sergeants, and now I think you never know, one of our our era might be a lieutenant soon. So
Yep.
it's kind of like crazy how it's been that fast, but we're now maybe one of us is going to be the watch commander, but definitely for sure a lot of them are sergeants already.
Yeah.
That's a leadership
Oh
position.
yeah, no, for sure.
And I feel like it
For
just
sure. I got trainees that are. My trainees are management now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
same. I get calls sometimes, bro, like that people are like that are in okay places right there, and it's like it still trips me out because I look at them like I respect their rank always,
yeah, no, for sure.
but like it's I don't look at them in that necessarily that rank. I see them as my friend, right? So when
Yeah.
I talk to them, I trip out when I right now I have a cousin-in-law, and he just applied to go to the jail, and so when Bonilla came, I go, hey, come over here. You can meet this cat. He ran the training unit for 5 years, right? But I got him all those number, and he talked to him or whatever, and now I'm kind of tripping because I was like, fudge, I said the name, but it's all right. I can edit
That's
it.
all right. Just edit it, bro.
Yeah, I can edit it.
Let it
But
bleep
no,
it, whatever.
so he, so he got that information. I'm just trying to explain to him, like, I try to have him here today, talk to the union president now. Like, if you really think about it, bro, like if you're a fresh guy coming in, I have a good guy, a youngster from Good Guys, and he wants to kind of like, he's gonna put in and he wants to go and try that out. And so I was like, well, if you're ready, I have all the ties, and I still have all the, the right people in place, that can help you out. I mean, but once again, I'm not going to put my name on it if, you're going to go over there and make me look bad, because you're going to make them look bad, because they're going to vouch for you, And that's why, like, I look at it like kind of, as we're ending the podcast, that's why I think I could never kind of talk down on that place, is that certain people that are in certain power, like, when I to go back, they vouch for me to go back. And I feel like that I'll always remember that. I will never forget that. And
you got a lot of love there.
And so for
Especially for management.
Yeah, for sure. Like the rest of my time, I'm always gonna, like I said, my appreciation's for life, for a lot of those people that are in management, that have really didn't have to take the time to reach out when they did, or didn't have to put their name on a background for me, So that just lets me know, like, who's kind of on your side, right?
Yep.
So you come in, and like I said this, if I'm given a platform and I can push, like, my intention is always to push for the good. I'm never like to go for the bad, right? And that comes back down to earlier when I wanted to hammer you on the restrictions, but it's like you ended it with love. That inmate still came to a good direction because of the way you show them love, right? And I feel like my podcast, I want to be able to bring on realness, rawness, the conversation to just be as real as possible, right? But having a purpose for it, having a purpose for the actual interview, So like today, I'm gonna read one more time and end it with. We started with Psalms 34:19. The righteous person faces many troubles, but the Lord comes to the rescue each time. And so I feel like that's just kind of a reminder of, this. It actually was like kind of perfect for this podcast because, I had I faced a trouble, right? I faced a problem, right? A trial, a tribulation. I think we went through it together, right? And it's like, look at where through time the Lord has helped me.
Yep.
And we're here.
Agreed.
And it's like,
Agreed.
Everything kind of ties back into it, right? And I feel like it comes back down to faith, and I just want to be able to push that, man, push like love, and hopefully it blesses somebody. They hear what we talk about, and we talk about different stuff, right? We can kind of go over, and I mean, I know certain stories I get too pumped up, like I was like, man, I didn't want to go in too depth as far as what I had brought that one story up about the officer and the inmate, right? And kind of talking about that, I kind of slowed down because that can get very touchy and politically, and I didn't want to kind of touch on that, but I wanted to bring that up because the ultimate goal was I just had to make sure I made him understand, like, you're gonna be replaceable, bro. You're not untouchable here. Like, you're still in prison. You're still in a jail. Like, you may have done that, and it is what it is. Like, you got one. It's just like when we come and we catch you, bro. It's just all you did was make that big chest move. We're gonna come around though for the next one, and then that you think that's the only. And like basically, the way I broke it down, I was like, you think that's the only seal that's ever gonna break? nah, bro, we're all human too.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that's not the only one. So like what you did is all you did was you just showed someone, you know, you caught them on a bad day or whatever the case may be, however the case may be. I don't know, but that's not the first or the last, brother. You know, so at the end of the day, my job as a CO, I always try to tell my people is like, I just need to make sure you go home safe. You go home safe. You know, I go home safe.
Yep.
As the corporal, my first responsibility is my people.
Yep.
Second, me,
100%.
and then the third, inmates. You know, and everybody's different. They're gonna they're gonna put inmates last, but at the end of the day, I mean that's our job. You know, safety checks are for the inmate safety, right? Make sure they're good. So I feel like you, me, and then them. You know, we go home first though. So if we're in an incident,
for sure,
and
for sure,
you know,
like my job when I'm there is to make sure you get home to your family.
Yeah.
Make sure I get home from my family. You know what I mean? Like I put my life on the line for you. You put your life on the line for me.
Yeah.
You know, and we do that to make sure we get home safe.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think like when it comes down to something like that, and you're actively involved, right? And I think they had kind of, there's an incident occurring, for example, and I think they were kind of going over this in briefing one time about, do we step in if you see an inmate right here in front of you, you know, getting, you know, messed up pretty bad? Do you go in and help, or do you wait for backup? What do you do?
If it's an officer getting assaulted.
No. If it's an inmate, or let's say it's an officer.
Okay, because we've had that question come.
Yeah, and that, I mean, at this point, I was thinking inmate.
If it's,
I mean, if it's an officer, I think what would you do? I was thinking more
I'd
inmate.
break policy. You got to write me up and fire me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna sit there and let that person such and such she might have kids or a family. Fuck it, I'll throw my life on the line too. If you're gonna get mad at me that I should have waited for backup, well, then so be it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I know that's not what management wants to hear. You know.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to give that message to anybody, but you know, if I'm being honest, that's the truth.
Yeah, because when I was trying to, I mean, we got deeper than my question, but like the question was like, it's an inmate, and then you see the inmate that actually has a knife, or he has something, right, and he's assaulting this inmate. I mean, policy states to wait for staff and wait for a safe to enter.
Yeah, safe to enter.
So you can sit there and but they're gonna judge us off why that officer stayed there, you know, and didn't enter, and then it could have helped this person before they were getting hurt. But they don't understand what we have to deal with policy. You know, you still got to move within policy. But that was mine. Yours is a little deeper too, because I think if that were to happen and occur, and it's an inmate on staff, and I'm the corporal on the floor, no, you know, I'm going in there all day. I mean, you walk me out, you know, do what you got to do, you know, like, but yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And I always felt like that was my one duty, you know, as the leader, as the corporal. Like that's the one thing that, you know, we just have to make sure our people go home safe. Like all my staff, I had to make sure they were good, you know. And yeah, it can get very, once again, an inmate that we're talking about from Main Jail 5. You know, that certain inmate like that, that's the one you're talking, like, you're scared of, because he could literally be programming, and then the next minute he's taking off on you.
Yep.
And that's, I think, you know, at least
it's scary. It's scary. They got the jump on you, so.
And you got to be very careful how we move. Yeah. So,
Yep.
I mean, I think that's a good way to at least end this one, you know, because it's been a little time. But thank you, bro. And if you, like you said, we can kind of link up later and
for sure
talk more. But
for sure, Louis.
Yeah, we'll just end it at that. So everyone, till the next time.